Hi, welcome to the Dairy Hour Podcast, where rural charm meets personal growth. Join us as we milk every moment for wisdom, self-improvement, and mental wellness. I'm your host, Val Lavigne, a rural dairy farming mom with a passion for filling hearts while never forgetting to fill my own cup. Get ready for insightful conversations, empowering tips, and a splash of fun and laughs, of course. Let's cultivate growth, nourish our minds, and embrace the journey together. This is the Dairy Hour Podcast, where every episode is a breath of fresh air and the inspiration you need to be your best self. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to today's episode of the Dairy Hour Podcast. I am your host, Val Lavigne, and I am joined by a returning guest, one of my favorite people to chat with on social media, and she's quickly rising in the ranks of some of my favorite people, Miss Katie Dotterer. How are you today, Katie?
I'm really well. How are you, Val?
I'm pretty good. A little warm after I've been running my butt off to get in here, but we're here. We're doing it. And you're coming to us from the sunny state of Florida, I believe.
Yes, not originally from here, but I am here. I do house and pet sitting, and believe it or not, I am still working, but it's just I need a change of environment every once in a while. So Florida is one of my happy places.
That's not a bad thing. Florida is a happy place of mine too. I love going down in the winter to visit my grandma and grandpa when they're down there. So I don't know if I'd find it as much of a happy place in July, but I mean, still to each their own, I guess.
When you have a pool accessible to you every day, it's pretty amazing.
I mean, I do have a pool, so I guess I do have a pool every day. But a lot of months out of the year, it's not very accessible or very warm. So we just go with that. So Katie is a returning guest for those of you that don't know her. Katie, do you want to give just a quick, brief synopsis of who you are?
Sure. I used to be I was the third generation and first generation dairy farmer. So after leaving my family dairy farm, I co-owned my own farm for a little over a decade, so like 13 years. And I restarted my life, restarted a new chapter in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And I own Agvocate, which is obviously a play on my name, advocating for agriculture. But one of the biggest things I do is teach Spanish online, all agriculture based. And then I also teach English as a second language to the Hispanic community within agriculture. So that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. I love it. And if you want to find more about Katie's story, you can scroll back in the Dairy Hour Podcast episodes and find the recent one that she did with me, which I believe was just in December of 2023.
It was, yes.
So, yep. But if you want to hear more about Katie's story, which is fascinating, go check that out. So today we're going to kind of bring you a more fun, chatty episode instead of what you normally hear from us. We are just going to kind of have fun, chat about what's on our minds, ask each other random questions, and just enjoy a little girl chat. So, Katie, first off, you are a traveling fool, and I love it because I just get to live vicariously through you. And you just went on what looked to be a fantastic vacation in Greece. Am I right?
So I just want to correct you because people think it was a vacation. There's a huge difference between a vacation and a trip. So a vacation to me is like chilling out or on a beach with a drink and my Kindle and not doing anything. This trip was fun. It was fantastic, but it was exhausting because Greece, if you look at it on a map, it is not all connected. So to get to different places, we were constantly flying and or taking a ferry or some mode of transportation. So I went with my sister. This was actually my sister's idea, by the way. Yes, I love to travel. Awesome. Greece is on my list, but it wasn't the top of my list. Mm-hmm. But she had just been telling me for years how much she wanted to go. And with all the crap that I've been through, and again, as you alluded to earlier, go back and listen to the other episode of my past life, which led me to this life. And I have it actually tattooed on my arm. It says una vida, which means one life in Spanish. You only get one. And I know that might be super cliche, but that's what I live by. So I was like, Lori, and by the way, she is part of the third generation on my family dairy farm. And I was like, listen, if you want to go, let's go. So we planned it. We saved up for it. And it's been planned since last Thanksgiving. So we only spent like 3 days in each part of Greece because to see the majority of it, and we didn't even get to see the entire country because there's so much to see. So it was awesome. And if you want to find out all the little details and all the fun little things, I did write a blog post on it on my my website, agvocate.com.
Awesome. So we have to tell us a little bit of the details. Like I'll link.
Okay. What do you want to know?
I will link the blog in the show notes.
Okay.
But I need to hear, like, I want to hear details straight from Katie's mouth. Like, you know, what was your favorite place that you went in Greece?
My favorite place was Mykonos because I love clear blue water. And I have to tell you, the water in Mykonos, I've never, like, and I've been to the Caribbean a handful of times and I love the Caribbean. But Greece, holy cannoli. Like, I remember Lori and I were on a catamaran. I had booked one of these. I don't know if you've ever been on one, but it's a fantastic way to like meet other people from other countries and just have a great afternoon out in the sun. And I literally could not stop taking photos or videos of this water because it was so blue, like Kool-Aid blue. And it was just gorgeous. And actually the water was kind of frigid.
Okay.
And we were there in June, but my sister and I were both like, hey, when in Greece, right? We jumped in, had a good time. So Mykonos was my favorite. So we're not obviously city girls, right? So we really didn't enjoy the city parts of Greece that much, but yeah, island, I'm an island girl. I could be an island girl.
Yes, I can see that. And what was the best food that you ate over there?
The Greek salads. Like, I know that might sound weird. And yes, you can get a Greek salad here in the US, but I'm here to tell you it is not the same. Not the same. An authentic Greek salad. I don't like Kalamata olives. So a Greek salad it's not lettuce. There's no lettuce on this thing. It is cucumbers, tomatoes, feta cheese. And I'm talking feta, I'm talking like the big triangles of feta. Like, there's no limit on that cheese.
Yep.
Sometimes there's like basil and oregano, and the dressing is just straight up olive oil.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. It's just so fresh. Tomatoes are actually one of their biggest crops that they grow there, which is fascinating of how they grow there because they don't get a lot of rain. So can I just tell you a fun fact about their tomatoes?
Of course.
So we were in Santorini on our way to the beach, which, by the way, Santorini does not have great beaches. We found this out. Mykonos is where the beaches are. We're in Santorini. I kept seeing these signs for the tomato museum. I'm like, Lori, we must go to the tomato museum. And she's like, Katie, no, we're in Greece. We're not going to a museum. I love museums. I am a geek. If you go to a museum with me, do not rush me, or like you can go do stuff by yourself because I will be in the museum taking it all in. And I was like, come on, let's go to the tomato museum. So it ended up being right beside the beach, right? She's like, fine. So we go. We had a blast. We were there for like 2.5 hours. And so quick story about this, the guy that built this, it's a tomato processing facility, built it in the 1940s, which is also when World War II was going on. Mm-hmm. So he was able to employ a lot of people, right? When there wasn't a lot of jobs to be had. And it's literally right next to the sea, to the Aegean Sea. And he did this on purpose. So he used that salt water to not only cool off the tomatoes when they came in, but the salt in the water helped preserve them so that they had a little longer to go through the processing facility or the processing methods. And he also used that cool seawater to cool down all the diesel engines that were needed to run the facility. It was pretty fascinating. And then we got to like can our own tomatoes at the end. It was a lot of fun. So, the cool agricultural fact about this people might like is, we didn't notice a lot of irrigation in this part of the country. And we found out that, so the tomatoes grown in Greece are very, very small. They're not the big, like heirloom tomatoes that we have here. And we found out that because of the really drought conditions that they have in the summer, the morning dew is all the water that those tomatoes need to grow, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
I know.
Our tomatoes would be dead. Dead tomatoes.
I don't grow tomatoes. I'm prepared.
Random fun fact, when I went to Hungary in 2014, I went to the Hungarian National Museum of Honey.
Ooh.
And the Hungarian National Museum of Paprika. So, you want to talk about some weird museums.
That's exciting.
I know,
yeah.
Right? And like,
so are you
the
saying
honey
that
one was fascinating.
I bet. I feel like we need to plan a trip, you and I, just to go see museums.
I mean, you'd probably get sick of me because sometimes I get like the adult ADHD going and I like kind of bounce too fast, but we'll see.
Listen, you don't have to go far for great museums. I just went to the Spy Museum in DC a couple months ago. Freaking awesome. It
I've
was
seen
awesome.
that when I've gone and I've been looking because I like to go to a different museum every time I'm in DC, but I didn't get this past time. I did not get a chance to go to one. I've
You need
always
the
seen
whole
one
day.
and it looked cool.
Yeah, you need a whole day to go through it. I only had an afternoon and it wasn't enough time, but it's an amazing, it's hands-on. You get a code name when you get in there. It's really cool.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that does. It's gonna bring back my Harriet the Spy days from when I was a
There
kid.
you go.
Did you ever watch that or read it?
I
Was it a
have not.
book?
I know of it, but no, I've not watched it.
Harriet the Spy was the bomb. And I was just in Chicago and I did not go. I don't know if I could have handled this museum. I was like right around the block from the Medieval Museum of Torture.
Oh yeah, no, I
And I
couldn't
was
do
like,
that.
oh, that sounds rough.
No.
That sounds real
Mm-mm.
rough. I don't know if I could handle that. Museum of Medieval Torture.
No,
I
thank
try
you.
not to think of what people did to other people back in those days. That's like a little much. A girl that I follow on Instagram, and she was in Romania, and she went to like the Dracula's castle, and they had some tortured. Well, they had some like medieval torture devices in there and stuff, and she was like snapping pictures of them, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's terrible." Yeah. So, anyways, people were really mean. We think people are mean to each other now. They were really mean to each other back in the like 12 and 1300s. So let's just lay that out there. Europeans.
Yeah.
Gosh. So the other part that I really was envious of you in Greece was your awesome photo shoot that you did and that really cool red dress. How does one come about doing a photo shoot in one of those like movie star red dresses?
So I'm so glad you asked because that's the number one question I get about this trip because people are like, did you like take that dress with you? I'm like, no, it's shocking to me. Maybe I follow way too many travel blogs, but this is a huge thing overseas. Like when you
Okay.
have scenic things like Santorini and you have the white domes or white washed buildings with the blue
Yep.
domes and it's just super, they have these flying dress shoots and men do them too, not in the dresses, obviously, but like people do them for like engagement pictures and whatnot. My sister and I were supposed to have them done together.
Okay.
There was a snafu with the scheduling, but whatever. But you can pick your own dress, the style that you want. Most of them are like plain, and then they just do the top however you want. So there's so much fabric you can
Yep.
just do whatever. But you pick the color, and people think those photos were photoshopped. They were not. So when you see the dresses like flying, there's two girls. There's one that's a photographer, and the other one, all she does is like they put you in the
Fly your
setting.
dress.
Well, she just picks your dress up and the sea breeze takes it wherever. And that's the beauty of these photos. Because you have no idea how they're going to turn out, but that sea breeze is constant. It never
Yep.
dies down because you're literally surrounded by it on these small islands. So it was a lot of fun. It was fun until the cruise ships came in. I hate cruises. It's just my personal opinion. I've done one. I don't ever want to do another one again. But Santorini is a really big cruise port. So we're
Yeah.
out there like getting these pictures done, and then these just hordes of people come are like, all right, I'm done. I'm out.
And that's the end of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
My sister's photos, I think, came out better than mine, which is fine because that was her bucket list item. So
I don't know. Yours were pretty fantastic. I didn't see your sisters, but yours were
thank
pretty
you.
awesome. So
Thank
I'd be
you.
happy with that.
It was
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. Any other fun tidbits of Greece that we need to know? What do
oh,
we need to know?
oh my goodness. We just did so many things. Athens, everybody like, wants to rave about the Acropolis, which is cool. So that's where the Parthenon, I never can pronounce it. If you're into Greek mythology, it's cool. If you're not, I'm not. It wasn't a huge deal to me.
Yep.
So it's the little things, right? And traveling with my sister, we've always loved to travel internationally, but
Mhm.
we've always done it separately. We've never traveled together. So we kept saying this is either going to be the first of the last time or, first of many. And my sister and I are very opposite. So, oh my gracious, it brought back flashbacks of growing up on the farm with her. So I'm the oldest. My sister is 3 years younger than me, and my brother is 4 years younger than me. And my brother and sister are only 13 months apart. So I feel like this is just being the oldest, but I am a morning person. Like my alarm clock goes off. I have an internal alarm clock. And I don't know, Val, if it's all the years getting up to milk cows, but I'm just like up and ready to go. Like I remember being at a conference once. And as you know, I'm a big tea drinker now. I wasn't always. I've always hated coffee. And I remember being at a conference and this guy was just like, how many cups of coffee have you had? And I'm like, I don't drink coffee. And he was like, where is this energy coming from? I'm like, from within. And he got so mad at me. So anyway, I've always had this energy in the morning. My sister, complete opposite. So flashbacks to the farm where we had to get up early to feed like 60 calves. And I would be literally walking out the door and she'd still be in bed. So I would have to dump water on her to get her out of bed. I'm like, you know what? I might as well just go feed calves myself because I'd get this done a lot faster. So the same thing happened in Greece, right? I am a planner, but not to the point of like, I still like adventure. And I only scheduled a few things because I'm like, no, I want these, open afternoons or whatever to just go explore, see what we'd run into. And we did. Yeah. But my sister completely bad seat of her pants. The thing that she tells everybody is, yep, Katie, get up in the morning. She's bang clanging around and doing all these things. And I'm trying to sleep. The girl will sleep till noon if you let her. Okay. Oh, but yeah, I wake up stretching. I do yoga, a little bit of yoga. I have my spot of tea and it's an art. Okay. Like we could do a whole podcast.
You take your tea very seriously. Yes.
I do take it very seriously. People have no idea. A lot of people don't like tea because they don't know how to make it.
Yep.
I don't know. I just I get up and sometimes that's also just my time with God. Like that's when I pray and I don't know. I just love mornings. My sister, complete opposite. So it was fun because we both annoyed each other, but not to the extent of,
sister brawls like when you were kids.
What's that?
Not to the extent of sister brawls when you were kids.
Correct. Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
That means
yes. Yeah, a little bit.
Sometime.
She also line dances and I swear all of our flights. So we had to fly, we flew there, and then we flew to Santorini and we had flown to Thessaloniki. If you've never flown in Europe, flights are super cheap. They're like $50 to go from country to country or from island to island. And anyway, all of our flights, I don't care which one you're talking about, they were all delayed. So we're waiting to board our flight to Thessaloniki. It is midnight. By the way, Greece is 7 hours ahead of the US and our flight gets delayed. And we're just like, at this point, we're used to it. So to keep ourselves awake, I was like, hey, have you learned this dance or that dance? And she's like, no. So there was a gate right next to the gate that we were flying out of. And it was actually, they had like walls. So they're not super open like we have here in the US. We get over there and I cued some music on my phone and taught her a line dance, and we're line dancing and people are just like, what are these American weirdos doing? I'm having a ball over there. Like we danced so much I was sweating by the time I boarded that plane.
And then no one wanted to sit next to you because you were the stinky, sweaty girl.
Kind of true. Well, I was also the crazy Americans. Although people, almost everybody I met over there, whether they were from Greece or especially South America, Germany, everybody thought I was Argentinian.
Huh.
I am beginning to, and this started last year when I started traveling extensively. So I don't know what it is. Well, I do know what it is because I've asked people, I'm like, why do you think I'm from Argentina? And legit Argentinians have told me, you look Argentinian and you have an Argentinian accent when you speak Spanish.
Huh.
And I was like, how do I look Argentinian? So fun fact, I'm in a World War II rabbit hole right now because I love history.
Perfect.
I learned that a lot of Germans, both sides of my family are very German. And I learned that after the war, a lot of Germans fled to Argentina to escape the war crime trials after the war. So I guess a lot of Argentinians are fair-skinned, dark hair, dark eyes. I joke with my mom that I've always actually joked that I was adopted because I might be black sheep in my family. And so now I'm like, everywhere I go. I was literally in Greece 3 hours, Val. Lori and I went to go get our first just street food. We were super tired, got there. And the Greek guy that went to hand me my gyro, a gyro, by the way.
Yeah.
He went to hand it to me and he goes, where are you from? And like, he's holding my sandwich hostage until I answer him. And I go, where do you think I'm from? And he goes, Argentina. And I just looked at my sister because I had told her the story before. And she was like, that's crazy. I would walk into a cafe. A Greek person would just start talking in Spanish to me. And I was like, how did you know I spoke Spanish? And they're like, you're not from South America? You're not. And like, people either thought Venezuela or I'm like, this is weird. But so now I joke that my next trip, when people ask me where I'm going to next, I'm like, Argentina to find my real family.
Instead of the milkman's daughter, you're the Argentinian's daughter.
Well, apparently I'm convinced I was adopted. And
That's
nobody
funny.
thought we were sisters because we really don't. We don't look alike anymore. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, or if you're having a day, you could just be like, nope, don't know her. Sorry, some random girl I met. It's fine. Just let it go.
Well, by the end of the trip, because we were there for almost 2 weeks, by the end of the trip, when people ask us where we're from, she'd be like, I'm from the US. I'm like, soy de Argentina. I'm from Argentina. I got tired of explaining it to people. Yeah.
Just gonna own it at this point.
Pretty much.
Oh gosh, that's awesome. That looked like such a fantastic trip. What's next? Where are you going next?
I want to go to Argentina. Argentina.
She's like, I'm just doing
I don't know. So I do. It's on top of my list. Another place I'd like to go, I want to do a tea tour in England, going through, like your big spots like London, but go to Scotland and Ireland because the tea is amazing and they know how to do it over there.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I wish I could go with you.
Well, you probably could.
I mean, the family might be kind of mad at me for that one, but
well, so I think a lot of people think that I don't know, have all this money to travel, and I don't. I just play the
travel
game.
hacking.
Yes, it is travel hacking. That is exactly what it is. I actually might go back to Cuba in January with a friend because there's parts of Cuba I didn't get to see last year. Yeah, it's travel hacking is amazing if you know how to do it. And I had to learn how to do it. And then through that, you meet people on your travels who also are great connections. And like that Greece trip was pretty cheap compared to what a normal person would pay through like a travel agency.
Yeah. And another, like my mom does a lot of that. And like when she went to Hawaii a couple times and stuff, instead of like eating out all the time and paying all that money for food, she would be like, if I have like, a Hawaiian street food or like, bring peanut butter and jelly if we're out traveling so we don't have to pay all this money because things are so expensive. She's like, I'm there for the experiences and stuff. And like, yes, get the little bit of food experience, but you don't need to pay to eat out at a 5-star restaurant every night. Like eat some of the local food or just eat, cheaply if you'd rather put your money into other things. So I definitely get that.
So
when
we first got there, when we first got there, we got food for breakfast. So even if we were, moving it was shelf stable stuff, but so we never ate breakfast out. I think we might have eaten breakfast out once. And then we shared meals a lot. So that was pretty smart. And I'm going to do a blog post on this at some point because it's the top question I get of how I do this all the time. And I actually don't do it all the time. I travel domestically too. I travel internationally maybe twice a year, maybe. And
that's still more than most people do though.
Yeah, well, and a big part of why I do it, if you've noticed where I go, you have a goal to go to a different Spanish speaking country every year to help with my business, to help with my own Spanish. There's different dialects, different accents everywhere you go. But even like, so people were like, oh, well, they don't speak Spanish in Morocco. And I'm like, you'd be surprised. One, two, it doesn't matter. In Morocco, wherever I'm going, especially Greece, Greek is very hard to learn, by the way. It doesn't matter that it's not Spanish. I actually met a lot of Spanish speakers there. So I was shocked at how much I used my Spanish while in Greece. But it's just being around another culture, another language, understanding, just the nuances of everything. And so this was the first trip, Val, that I haven't taken my laptop.
Nice.
But all my other trips I have, because I am always, as a entrepreneur,
You're always working. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I get that.
So I'm going to do a blog about like how I'm able to like financially do it, but it's you right now in my life, in my season where I'm at, I'm prioritizing travel because
and that's the other thing.
Yes. I don't buy into the whole, I'm going to wait till I'm 65 and retire. I don't know if I'm going to make it to then. One, I don't know if we're not even promised tomorrow. So this is a fantastic podcast episode called Dying with Net Zero. And it's by All the Hacks. It's one of my favorite podcasts to listen to because that's where I learned a lot of these travel hacks. Anyway, this episode just hit me. Like I've actually listened to it 3 times because it's that just hits you in the soul. And he talks about you think you're going to do all these things when you retire, but what you don't realize is you might not have the health that you have right now. You might not have a lot of people don't have the energy that you have right now in your 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s. So, and I've witnessed too many people getting to retirement and either getting a disease, right, you know, and dying, or just I don't want to, that's not me. So
Yes.
I don't do things like I hate pedicures actually, but I don't put my money into things that I'm just prioritizing travel right now.
Yeah.
There's a reason I still only have 3 dinner plates. There's a reason I buy all of my clothes, pretty 95% of them, from consignment shops. And I've learned when I got a divorce and I moved from a farmhouse to my apartment, I've learned to live with less. Again, it's just prioritizing what I really want in life right now.
Yeah. And I think that goes true like to anybody, because you always get like those side comments because people are just jerks in general, and they're like, must be nice. Well, then prioritize it. Like if I do something, it's because I gave up something else so that I could do that. Like I'm a farmer, I'm not rich. I just prioritize what I spend my money on.
Yeah.
And that,
especially in agriculture, I really believe that, because I think there's some envy there, which I made choices, right? I made the choices that I've made. And I get, oh, well, you could afford a house by now. First off, have you seen the housing market? Right? You don't know what I'm paying for rent. And what I'm paying for rent is actually pretty reasonable compared to what a lot of people might be paying.
Yeah.
And I am to a point right now, this is a personal note, that like, I would like some more room. I just feel like my business is outgrowing my little apartment. Yeah. And I love it, but that's something that I'm like, am I ready to give up some of the travel? And I'm not.
And then it ties you to a spot more. Yeah, you're tied there, and it's not as easy to be like, I don't feel like being here anymore. I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Also called fear of commitment.
The Barnyard Language Podcast is honest talk about running farms and raising families, hosted by us, Katie and Arlene, an Iowa sheep farmer and an Ontario dairy farmer with 6 kids, 2 husbands, and a whole lot of chaos between us.
We talk to guests who have life experience that's relatable to parents in agriculture and offer resources, perspective, compassion, a few swears, and lots of laughs.
Whether your farm is a raised bed in your backyard or 10,000 acres.
Whether your family is in the planning stages or you've got a dozen kids.
If you've ever had a car seat in a combine, a stroller in a stable, or you have a toddler or a teen in your tractor, this is the podcast for you.
Subscribe to Barnyard Language today on your favorite podcast platform.
I mean, you're allowed to.
Yeah.
That's something that's in your chapter of life that, like, you're more than welcome to do that. And you don't have anyone to answer to.
Yep.
And that's exciting.
I don't have anyone to answer to. And, people ask me all the time if I miss the farm. I miss the cows, but I don't miss, this may sound awful to some people, but I just don't miss the tide. Like, you're tied to it all the time. And
I know exactly what you mean.
Yep. I thought I'd miss it more. And I am very fortunate to still have my family dairy so that when I, need a cow fix or the field fix, I can go home. But I'm very grateful for this new life, and I have no idea where it's going to take me. I'll let you know.
Well, I'm just going to follow along on your adventure. I'm sorry. I don't care if you're scared of commitment, but like, you're committed to me. Like, you're stuck with me at this point. So I'm just going to be that random person that emails you and is like, hey, so let's do this. And I'm going to expect you to say yes. So here's the thing.
I've said yes to you 3 times.
I mean, and you've not had a bad experience yet, so we're doing good.
Yo, you're party. I love how you started this. It's like, we're just gonna have fun. And I'm like, I am all for fun. I don't do too many things that aren't fun.
So a little like side note for those of you listening, Katie agreed to do a podcast with me and had no idea what we were going to talk about. And when we hopped on Zoom, she was like, so what are we even going to talk about today? And I was like, pretty much just anything. And she was like, all right, we can do that. So, yeah. I mean, here we are. It's
know what else went through my mind when do you know what went through my mind when you told me that?
What?
This is gonna be real easy to put my foot in my mouth.
Nah, we're good. That's what the edit button's for. We're good. If I gotta do that, we'll do it. I don't usually edit for people, but for you, I'll make an exception if we need to, but we should be fine. We'll keep it on safe ground. So I did you want to talk, I'm going to revert back to you talking about like the strings that tie you to the farm and stuff. I have been away at a board meeting for a few days in Chicago, and I got home, and it's literally today has just been the day of putting fires out. And I just hate those. Like, you bust your butt so hard before you go, and you're like, I swear that like the farm itself, like just not any specific part of it, just the farm in general. They know, they're like, oh, you're going away for a few days. Beer, what's wrong? And then it's just like, bam, bam, bam. All this stuff goes wrong. So with that, I'm going to lead into kind of my next topic that I want to chat with you. So I was in Chicago all week. There was some really nasty weather that came through the United States. And one of the most terrifying things happened to me on Monday night. So we're talking July, whatever, 12th, 13th, something like that. So I had just gone to bed and I was sleeping for like 20 or 30 minutes. And we knew that there was going to be like severe storms going through, but I was like, I'm in a big, like, I mean, downtown Chicago, like skyscrapers, like the whole shebang. I'm like, I'm good here. Like, I'm, not on like the 32nd floor or anything. I'm only on the 11th floor. Like, it's fine. I slept about 20, 30 minutes and got woken up to my phone, the iPhone, that terrible noise that they make when there's like a severe weather emergency. And there are these alarms in the hotel room that were like going off. And I about hit the ceiling of the room because it terrified me. I had it's one of those, you wake up, you don't know what's going on, where you are, what to do. And you're just like, oh my God. So then there's like this intercom throughout the whole hotel. And they're like, there's tornadoes in the area, take shelter immediately. You either need to get in your bathtub or you need to go down to level 2, which is where like their safe space is. So I'm like stumbling out of bed. I'm trying to like not look like a complete like homeless person to go downstairs because these are all people that are like, that I have business relationships with. And then I get out in the hallway and I'm like, crap. Do I take the stairs or am I okay to take the elevator? They didn't say anything about not taking the elevator. And I was like 11 floors is a long way to go down when there's like crap going down. It's like the elevator would be much faster.
Yeah.
And I decided on the elevator and I was like, if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. Let's just take the elevator and be lazy because I'm not falling down 10 flights of stairs at this time of night. Like, I'm gonna go for it. But let me tell you, I hope that you never have to go through this. It was so scary. You're in like a strange place. And those alarms were like just just absolutely bone chilling, scary. So
did you get down there okay in the elevator?
I sure did. That elevator treated me like a champ. Got me right down where I needed to be. And I was much calmer once I was like with other people. It was just that the startle of being woken up out of like a dead sleep because I was exhausted because when you leave the farm,
what time was that?
Work. I mean, it was like 10 o'clock Chicago time, but I mean, that's like 11 o'clock New York time. So, I mean, I was tired and I'd been busting my butt for the last however many days and I was exhausted. So I was like I'm like, there's no kids to wake me up in the middle of the night. Like, I'm just going to get some sleep. Yep. The joke's on me.
Nope.
Because then I finally, 45 minutes later, got to go back to my room, finally calmed myself down enough to go back to sleep. And then at 1 a.m. Chicago time, I got a call from one of the hired guys because something wasn't starting with the milking system.
Oh my God.
So he called me and woke me up out of a sound sleep at 1 a.m. And then I had to get a hold of Greg and wake him up. And then I had to get myself back to sleep again. So needless to say, I was a little grumpy on Tuesday, but we got through.
Yeah, I would be too. I hope you drink coffee.
Yeah, I drink lots of coffee. So we're good. Yeah, it was a rough start, but thankfully it got better. And I think that they had like 10 tornadoes or something touched down in the Chicago area. So I'm just thankful because I think both airports, Midway and O'Hare, both I think they said had tornadoes like there.
My gosh.
So thankfully it did not
crazy.
It did not have any flying out issues. So that was good. But
wow.
So Katie, what is one of your most terrifying experiences?
Oh gosh, that is a good question. Recent or
whatever, like when someone asks you what's something you've done that's terrifying, like what is it? The first thing that comes to your mind.
The first thing that comes to my mind that is terrifying, but also exhilarating. Can I go with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Skydiving. I absolutely love skydiving. It is insane to jump out of a perfectly good airplane, but oh my gosh, it is It is amazing. I can't explain the feeling to people. So when you jump out of a plane, I did this a few years ago, and if you asked me to go tomorrow, I would do it in a heartbeat. So I don't know if you know this, but when you skydive, especially your first time, you have to
strap to somebody, right?
Yeah, you're strapped to somebody. So I'm like, well, this dude's not gonna want to die. So you've got 2 parachutes. And the only thing that really, so like when you jump out of that plane, it doesn't feel like you're falling super fast, but you are. Yeah. And then when your person opens the parachute, you get yanked. However, once you get yanked and your parachute comes out, this is the part where I can't explain to you unless you do it. The descent that you have when your parachute is open is the most peaceful, like
out of body experience.
It really is. It really is. But it's terrifying to jump out of it. Like I got in there, I was like, what am I doing? Like you have to sign your life away and all this. And I've been bungee jumping before, which I won't do that again because that hurts.
Oh.
But, that's honestly, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. But something comparable to yours, I don't remember. I think maybe I try to bury those. I try to bury the terrifying thoughts, maybe. Yeah, because I don't.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I will never jump out of a plane. So my cousin has done it before. It's not I'm way too much of an old lady to do that. Like I can't.
For my dad's birthday.
I cannot do it. I'd probably I'm one of those people. I would probably panic so bad I would have a heart attack right there.
Okay.
No, I mean, my heart is fine. Yeah, no. Like I don't have any heart problems or anything, but I mean, I don't think I could do it. I would. Well, nope, you couldn't. I don't.
Yeah.
No stop. Huh. Nope. So
honestly, like on a smaller scale, I terrify myself when I'm listening to I'm horrible. I should not read thrillers or listen to true crime podcasts. And I've learned not to do this at night driving because I refuse to stop for gas. It's bad. So I terrify myself on a frequent basis.
Yeah, see, I also don't do stuff like that. I'm one of those people, I don't watch like scary movies or anything because everyone is out to get me after that. I get very paranoid, but
I can't watch movies anymore, but yeah.
But I'm one of those people. So I was, oh my gosh, I want to say I was like either just out of college or in college still. And I stayed at a friend's house or something. Like she didn't live near us. And like, I don't even know how this ended up. Like all of a sudden there was a scary movie on the TV, but I didn't know it was scary when I started watching. Like I didn't know it was just a movie that had come on. And I think like her grandma or somebody was like watching it. And I started watching it and I was into it before I figured out that it was like a scary movie. But then it's one of those things like, then you're like, you can't look away, but you're like, you don't want to watch it, but you can't stop watching because you have to know what happens. And you're just like, I don't know what to do. This is the worst thing. Yeah, it's terrible. I can't do it.
That's funny. Oh my
True crime, like none of that. It is not for me. I am a comedy girl all the way. I don't need that kind of anxiety in my life because I have enough anxiety, as my husband will attest to, that I don't need to add stuff to it. So we keep it light and fun, and that's where we go. And that is why books, I don't read thrillers. I don't read anything too deep and dark. I read my 1800s like London novels, and I call it good because we're not in the 1800s, so I don't have to worry about these things coming true. And that takes me to a different world. It's nothing current. I'm good to go. I can like forget about it when I'm done. So
you're smarter than I am then in that realm because like
you should just start getting book recommendations from me then.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm in a World War II rabbit hole right now. Not that, I mean, World War II can be scary in some instances, but yeah, so.
Oh my gosh, bringing back all the stuff. So what was the movie called? So there was I think it was a World War II movie that came out like, oh my gosh, it was like Greg and I had just started dating. We might not have even been married yet. So it was like 2012-ish. Name some of like the World War II, like pretty popular ones.
Saving Private Ryan.
Crap.
I haven't watched a lot of the movies because I don't like blood and gore. And obviously know there's a lot of that in there.
Yeah.
Band of Brothers I'm currently trying to get through, but that's a series.
Hold on. I'm going to find it. So We went and saw this movie, and when we went, so my husband and we went with like a couple of friends of ours, and we watched it. It was like so anyways, towards the end of it, I started crying. It was not World War II. It was something different. It was a current war movie. But anyways, it got to the end of it and I started crying. And I literally, for like an hour after the movie, I cried and I couldn't stop crying. And it was the worst thing ever. And Greg's like, and we're never going to one of those again. What movie was it?
Wow.
It was terrible.
Yeah, very
because I
curious.
think it like sunk into me that it was like a real story. It was like it had something to, no, what was the one where they were, I think, was it the one they were capturing bin Laden?
Zero Dark 30?
Nope.
Sniper?
No. My gosh.
Well, while you're looking for it, I will tell you, as a kid, when you're in high school, you don't really understand maybe and don't give a lot of time to understanding the wars. But World War II, I am still learning so much about it. And Band of Brothers, it was recommended to me a couple of times and I just hadn't. And then I finally started watching it. And it's taking everything that I can to watch it because it happened. And I just can't fathom doing what people did, especially soldiers during that war and everything that went on. And I've been to Poland and I toured the Auschwitz concentration camp. I'm speechless. Like
it's crazy.
It is like to tour that and then just keep learning more about World War II. There's so many, I mean, we could do a whole other podcast on it, but I'm very fascinated by it, but it's also very breathtaking in the sense of I can't believe this happened. One, I mean, I do believe it, but I also just the people, the soldiers, like what they went through. I can't.
Yeah, it's terrible. I've been Berlin and whatnot and seen some of the memorials and stuff there, and it is just absolutely horrifying.
I would love to go to Normandy. I want to go to Normandy to see that.
Yeah, Act of Valor is the movie.
Oh yeah, I've not seen that one.
Yeah, don't ever invite me to see it. Don't invite me to see it. Like 4 boxes of tissues. So yeah. It was terrible. I think it was a really good movie, but like I just literally couldn't stop and I was like, I just can't believe it's true. And I just bawling my eyes out. It was terrible. They're literally just all looking at me like, are you okay? And I was like, I don't know. And now we don't watch war movies either. So here we are. The list of things I cannot do. So
it's okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Ooh. This is kind of going to tie into what we were talking about. If you could live in any era of history and location, what would you go to? This is a good one. I like this question. Thanks, ChatGPT, for the good conversation starter questions that I asked it. But I like that.
Oh, that is a really good question because as much as I love World War II and I love the fashion of the 20s, I would not want to be a woman before now. Like I'm just, oh my gosh. So I currently just watched On the Basis of Sex about Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Okay.
The inequalities that I mean, it was just the 70s when women could open a credit card in their own name.
Yeah.
It was these that women could finally get a business loan in their name. So I can't sit here and tell you that I would love to be in the past because I just,
you like to be an independent gal.
Yes, I'm very independent. My dad makes fun of me and he knows how to push my buttons because
most dads do.
Yeah. Well, and the whole term feminist gets thrown around and whatnot, but I do like to be independent. I'd like to be able to, take care of myself. And I think that we should be treated equal. I don't want to go on a tangent here. So I don't know how to answer your question because we still have a long ways to go in this country for that. But I mean, I think I would be a really great flapper girl in the 20s. I'm just saying. I threw a party. I threw a roaring. It was saying goodbye to my roaring 20s when I turned 30. And my entire party was like, you walked into this, and I kid you not, you would have thought you were in a speakeasy. Men
And then you went
had
to the Great Depression.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Seriously. That was
Yeah,
like
but
two.
I love the glitz and glamour though of the 20s. But yeah, then the Great Depression. No, maybe the 70s. If I have to absolutely answer, because hippies, I don't know.
Because hippies.
There's a lot of change that happened in the 70s too. So I maybe to be a part of that. That's
So
you.
So I guess like not thinking of like women's rights and things like that aside, I would either go like Laura Ingalls is my gal. Like I could see myself like crossing the country in a covered wagon with my fam, you know, like something like that. Or of course, like 1800s, like Britain.
I'm like, I also like my modern experiences. Okay.
Well,
I knew you were gonna say that because that's what you like to read.
It's just, yeah, I'm an 1800s gal. Like whether it be like pioneer days or, you know, just like 1800s London, Britain, all the things. Yep. Yeah. You know, the big dress, all the fun stuff, all the tea. Think of the tea and crumpets. See?
You know what? But I can get tea and crumpets in a modern world these days. So
yes, but I'm saying if you had to go back, I'm not saying that like we don't have it pretty good today, but I'm saying if you had to go back, I think it'd be pretty fun.
Which I will say, living in Gettysburg, one of these days when I have more time, I can volunteer to be one of the women of Gettysburg where they wear those huge hoop skirts. So
do it.
Maybe that'd be fun. I don't know.
Do it. I want to see pictures. Do it, and I want to see pictures. And I'll be jealous.
Send them to you. I almost. Do you know who Jenny Wade is?
No.
She's the only civilian killed during the Gettysburg battle, right behind her sister's house. So it's called the Jenny Wade House. I'm just going to make a history correction here for people that think that's where Jenny Wade lived. It was actually her sister's house. Anyway, she was the only civilian killed. A stray bullet came through the door and killed her. Anyway,
that's a very inconvenient spot to be.
Yes. Well, she thought, so it was the second day of the battle, and she thought that they had taken in some soldiers, and she heard the gunshots go away. So she thought it was over. So she came up from the basement where they were all hiding to bake bread for the soldiers. And that's how it happened. Anyway, I live right behind that house, and there's ghost tours everywhere in Gettysburg. And I actually got an email from the one company asking, they were looking for help, and they were looking for a Jenny Wade ghost.
Oh,
and I was going to apply, but I did not.
Oh, that's a big disappointment.
I know. I just had too much going on last summer. Too much.
You should definitely be a part of the reenactment and post pictures because it'd be awesome.
I thought about that too. However, I get the heck out of Dodge when the reenactment goes on because it is crazy in Gettysburg. Crazy. Like I've had to learn back ways to get out of where I live to go places because that's how bad traffic is. It's nuts.
Yeah, I can see how that would be pretty crazy. I need to come and visit you though still.
You do. I do love Gettysburg. People ask me how I deal with the tourists, and I'm like, I have a love-hate relationship with them. Like I love tourists because I get to meet so many cool people from all over the world. And it makes my heart happy when I go by these big groups, especially kids, and they're listening to these tour guides, the battlefield tour guides. I don't like how they drive because we have this big roundabout in the middle of town, and I don't know if it's
people don't know how to use it.
No, but can we please start including this in driver's ed curriculum because they're becoming more popular, and y'all need to know how to drive through the daggone things.
Yeah, we have a bunch near us, and yeah, you can tell who's used to them and who's not because the people that aren't used to them don't have a clue what to do with them.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. And then they go and make y'all mad.
Yes. Yes. So, and I will say, July is our busiest month in Gettysburg. So if you want to visit, highly recommend the fall, which is still busy, but not as busy as July because that's the reenactment. But the fall is beautiful. It's still pretty warm. There's a lot to do. I walk everywhere. So this farm girl who didn't think she could live without cows, my car will literally sit on my, and I make it sound like I live in town. I really don't. I live on a battlefield. It's beautiful. It's peaceful. But I walk to the post office. I walk to the bank. I walk to a cafe. I walk everywhere. And I love it. I know some people wouldn't, but I think it's pretty cool.
Gets you active, gets you moving, and it's what you like to do.
Yeah. That's in addition to walking my 3 miles on a battlefield, or I got a bike 2 years ago and I'll do anywhere from like 12 to 18 miles on the battlefield. It's just a really cool way to see the battlefields. And I stop and still read the monuments and whatnot. But when you come to visit, I can do an unofficial town tour. So from where my apartment is down to the square, it's a half a mile. And I do Katie's unofficial town tour. And so, because I can tell you about all of the buildings, almost all of them are 1863 official. Like they've been there since then. I can point out the witness trees that Abraham Lincoln passed on his way to give the Gettysburg Address. Oh, it's a lot of fun.
Perfect. And you can come up here and I can bring you to the Saratoga battlefield, but I cannot give you a tour because I honestly don't explore it like I should have living this close to it. But we can go explore it together.
I haven't been to New York other than JFK, which I will never fly out of again. I need to get back up there. I used to go up to New York quite often.
Well, you come on up and we will go to the Saratoga battlefield and we'll check it out. I did go riding in it I guess it was like 2 months ago now. We went on, there's some horse trails. So, I mean, we did do that.
You should bring your horse down to G-Bird because we can take you can do horseback riding through the trails too.
We'll see. We'll see if he's into that or not. He's a little bit of a sass to trail ride sometimes, so he might not be the most pleasant.
Got it.
We'll see. Or if anything, like if they're doing any reenactment stuff or a cannon goes off, then Val is going to be on the ground. So we don't need that to happen. Yeah.
Hello, ladies. If you have been here for a bit now, you know that I am constantly on the go. Oh, yeah. And I have 3 school-age children with germs everywheres. Cue Wonder Cow Colostrum. This made in America bovine colostrum is top notch. I have been taking it for some time now, and the difference has been amazing. My immune system has a much easier time fighting off germs. My gut health, top notch. And I've been feeling great. I take in a bottle of water every morning as part of my daily routine. So, if you are a busy mom on the go and don't have time for germs, go to wondercow.com and get some today. P.S. Use code DGV10 and save yourself some dollars.
But so I did, and actually just in a recent podcast, I talked about this too. When I was little, I used to want to be Laura Ingalls in the worst way. Had like multiple dresses and bonnets and things like that. So.
Wow.
Yep.
To each their own. I'm not a camper. I like my modern conveniences.
Here's the thing. Say that I would really love to go across in a covered wagon, but if you asked me to sleep in a tent, I would tell you to fly a kite. So there's that. Maybe I would be more cut out for the 1800s, like a duchess or something. Like I could totally be a duchess.
There you go.
Yeah, I think I'm more cut out to be a duchess and have people wait on.
To have to sleep in calling you Duchess Val.
That's fine. Yeah. Madam. So, yes, maybe we'll go with that one then. I don't know.
Perfect.
I like this one too. What is one skill you wish you had and how would it change your life?
Can you repeat that, please?
What is one skill that you wish you had and how would you use it to change your life?
One skill I wish I had and how would you...
I'm coming with all the hard ones today.
I'd say one skill. I think electrical. It's a toss-up between electrical and woodworking. So fun fact, I was in construction trades my senior year of high school.
Okay, you completely, I don't know where I thought that was going, but that is not what I thought you were going to say. And I was like, you said electrical and I'm like, what is she talking? Like, what? And then I was like an electrician? I was like, that's strange, but okay.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. So, carry on.
I do. It's between electrical and carpentry because I took construction trades. I helped build a model house my senior year, did the electric in it, like wired a 3-way circuit. I just wish I was better at math. Maybe that's a better answer to this question because I didn't go into any of those things. I actually almost went to school. I almost went to Penn Tech for carpentry because I loved just woodworking. But math, Val, I don't know.
You just can't math?
The wires just didn't. No! When people like, even my accountant, she'll just look at me sometimes. I'm like, this is why I teach Spanish, not math. Okay. Those
Don't
connections
teach
never
math
made it in
and
the brain.
Spanish, whatever you do.
I kind of do. When I do numbers, we do a little worksheet where you just add like 2 + 2. I don't make it too hard.
Okay, well, that's fine. I hope you can handle that.
So yeah, in general, I'm gonna say math because it's not my forte.
Even though I think electric was kind of entertaining, though. I kind of liked that.
I don't know, like I just love the whole like hands-on thing. If I had to, I don't regret my educational path, but had I need to do over again, I would do a trade. And to be quite honest, I would do welding. And I actually still thought about taking some welding classes because I used to weld on the farm.
I can weld. Well, it's been a while.
Well, my dad calls my welds chicken scratch or chicken shit, but.
So I took welding class in college, and that rotten jerk of a teacher, and I did better than most of the guys in my class, and that rotten jerk gave me just a point low, and it kept me from getting my 4.0 GPA.
Wow.
Yep.
Awful.
I was very disappointed.
I bet. That's
so
awful.
I can in fact weld, but I don't weld. That's what my husband is for. If I need something done, I'm like, you there, peasant, take care of that. No, I'm just kidding. I don't actually just that. But that's what the Duchess would say. Okay. No.
That's right. Duchess.
I think if I could build things, I wish that I could build things more than I can. I'm really good. Like if I get something in a box, like a shelf, or God, when you have kids, like all the toys that come that are all deconstructed, like the swings and stuff like that, I can build those. I'm really good at following instructions and putting things together. But to just like go build, something out of wood that you don't have like all the pieces of wood cut for and like stuff like that. I wish that I could be a little bit more talented in that area, but oh well. Yeah. That's what other people are for, because I don't think I'm ever going to learn that. So here we are. All right. Let's do some like more like rapid fire questions, because I think we're getting to the end of this episode here. Let me find a good one that you haven't even actually already answered on this, because I've got like this packet of rapid fire questions. Like I could, from this podcast, I can answer half of these questions. I'm like, oh man, what's your favorite thing to cook?
Cook or bake?
Whichever. If you have to make something in the kitchen, what are you making? Your go-to?
Salmon.
That was
I eat a lot of seafood. Huh?
That was way out there for what I was expecting, but okay. Especially when you were asking about baking, I'm like,
well, I do. I prefer to bake. I stress bake a lot, but and it's usually chocolate. But to cook, I love seafood, so I make this one. It's a very, very easy recipe. It's a sheet pan meal. It is salmon with a chili lime marinade, and then with onions and bell peppers, and you just serve it over rice and call it a day.
Fun.
Yeah.
Salmon's not really my thing, but you can have all mine.
I eat it like, I don't know, at least twice a week. I eat a lot of it in the summer because it's just light and I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love my steak and chicken. Pork is not, I like ham and bacon, but pork chops, I've just never had one.
I think it just depends on how you cook them.
Yeah.
There's definitely different like levels of pork chop. I can see that.
Yeah.
So what's your next state that you've not been to that you want to go to?
Oh, date. They're taking me out of my international realm.
I know. That's why I went with state instead of just place.
Well, it was up until last year, Maine, but I went to Maine and I did enjoy it.
You're welcome.
Oregon. I want to go to Oregon.
Thank you. You're welcome. Oregon.
Yeah. Tillamook. It's my favorite ice cream. Mudslide.
Come on, you're talking about Tillamook on my podcast, Katie.
I'm sorry. I know. I just
ice cream is fine,
that.
But don't say the C word, whatever you do.
Okay. All right.
For those of you listening, the C word is not the bad C word. It's the delicious C word.
Yes. Gotcha.
We're gonna leave that there. Okay.
I have a friend that is from Oregon, and she posts pictures, and I'm just like, I need to get out there. So I'd also like to see Washington State. I would love to go to Hawaii and Alaska. There's a lot of domestic places I'd like to go to yet. So
there you go. And so you kind of said something about like having a skill. If you had to go back in time and like completely switch your career path, nothing to do with agriculture, nothing to do with Spanish, and nothing to do with carpentry, because you already said that you'd kind of like to build things. What's something like that you just think would be a really cool thing to do? Sorry, I had to limit it down and take all your easy answers.
That's okay. A fighter pilot.
There you go. She's
Yep. My dad, I grew up with a plane. My dad he's a dairy farmer, but he also has a little Cessna. And I think I was 8 when he got his pilot's license. And then when I found out like about the Air Force, sometimes I think I would have done that route, but I love flight, and yeah, so a fighter pilot, that's what I would do.
That's interesting. I love it. I love when people give the answers that you're like, wait, what? Forgot that was even a thing. Yep. All right. Favorite museum that you've ever been to?
Oh my gosh, you're killing me.
I know.
As of right now, it would probably be the Spy Museum in DC. There's another one, which we'll have to reconnect afterwards. I think I might be going there for my birthday. It's a big language museum, which of course, but no, the Spy Museum. And I just want to put it out there. It's not like yeah, kids can go, but it legit talks about the CIA and the FBI. So my World War II rabbit hole, I was learning about this woman, Virginia. What is her last name? I can't remember. I'm thinking of her married name. Anyway, her story was fascinating. And I was so excited to see like an exhibit on her. So it's like real life spies, and they have these holograms of people that have been spies for the US, for Britain, for the UK, for like all the countries. And spies, we've had spies for years, since like the Revolutionary War. So it goes back to that, and it's just really cool. You go in there, you literally get like a code name, you get this card of like, and by the end, like there's little interactive things you do along the way. You find out if you've been a good spy or not a really good spy, like if the CIA would hire you or not. So my code name was Pigeon. Don't ask me why. It's just they're random, but it is so cool. And if you go, like, I forget when they have like special exhibits right now. They have the James Bond separate exhibit. So they have like almost all the cars that you've ever seen in James Bond's movies there. So that was cool to see, but I would definitely plan on a whole day, because it's just really, DC is so like, there's so many museums I want to go see, and that's cool. Second favorite, I'm just going to put it out there, Holocaust Museum. Do it. When you go to Auschwitz, and when you were in Berlin, did you go to any concentration camps out there?
No, we saw the wall in a couple different places. We saw Checkpoint Charlie. We went to the memorial.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just, in comparison, I mean, definitely start with the Holocaust Museum in DC, because it gives you a really good background. And it's obviously very sobering.
Yeah,
very much.
It is. It's crazy because like even when I was in Berlin and we went to the memorial, like not a single sound, like it is just quiet. It's very, very crazy.
Like you could take pictures in Auschwitz, you could take pictures of the outside, but I just wasn't even comfortable doing that. I think one picture, and that's the entry. I just didn't feel right taking it.
And that's how Pearl Harbor is too. It's one of those places, like when you get off on the island, you literally just don't speak. Like you just absorb it and take it all in, and it's crazy. The harbor is fantastic too, if you ever get down that way.
That's another place I'd like to go to. Yeah, I would love to go there.
Yeah. All right. What is like your favorite like thing right now? Like what something that you've tried that's new, something like it's your go-to like thing right now?
Gosh.
Like, do you have a new thing that you tried? Jeez, I'm like
line dancing,
putting you on the spot.
Yeah, you're like good.
I know, I'm trying to find questions that we didn't kind of already like answer, or that we couldn't just answer from the episode kind of. Like, do you have like a
you know that I
food
line dance?
tried that's like your new thing? Or a new drink that you've tried that's like something you love? She's like, nope, I just stick to my tea and call it good.
I'm a pretty simple person when it comes to that stuff.
All right, what's your favorite tea brand?
Gosh.
How's that?
Barney and Sons, hands down.
See, I knew you
Get
could answer that.
So they're in New York. They're in
Yeah.
Millerton.
Yep.
Yeah, I visited my New England trip last year.
Yep.
They source their teas from the best tea regions in the world. And when I say that, it's the places with the best climates to grow tea. Tea is a very finicky plant. We actually don't have a really good climate here to grow tea. So they have teas from Sri Lanka, different parts of India. India is a really big tea producer. So they just have a ton of flavors. I love reading their blog because I'm a nerd. So yeah, that's my favorite. I actually got to meet John Harney when I was on my New England trip. I don't know if I told you this.
I don't think you did.
I had a tea. It was actually after I talked there. I spoke it in Vermont.
And then you went down there. Yep.
Yeah. So I had a tea that I gotten at a tea house that it closed. So I couldn't get this tea anywhere. So I kept rationing myself because I love this tea so much. It's a black tea. And I've been to a couple places to try to replace it or find something equivalent, and I couldn't. So finally I took it with me the whole way through that New England trip. Didn't drink any of it. And I get there and I didn't know what to expect and didn't even expect to meet a Harney. But Mr. John Harney came out. It was so funny because he was in this like ratty, like white t-shirt and jeans. And they actually had the tea tasting room closed. And he was like, oh, just come on back. So him and I think it was Elise Harney, which I think is his sister-in-law. Anyway, when you walk in, there's just wall-to-wall tins of tea. And so they're like, do you mind if we brew a cup? And I'm like, no, because they have to taste it. They have to smell it. They have to get the mouth feel. Like it's like wine tasting.
It's a whole thing.
And they matched it as well as they could. So I bought a crap ton of tea.
Bought all the tea.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm still stuck on the whole like new thing that you've tried. I know I've done something new because I don't stay stagnant very much.
All right. Well, that's good. We'll go with your tea.
Okay.
You can just fall back on your tea for always.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
I know that you've been teasing some fun things coming up with Advocate.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know if we could get a little dirt.
Oh man.
Or you can give us hints. That's fine too.
There are things to help farmers, put it that way. And not just farmers, people in agriculture. And I'll just put it this way too. People that either can't commit to the costs of the course, or really a big one for people is the time. And I get that. So there are easier things, little smaller things that can help you. And it's also my ESL program, which I don't want to go too far into because people steal my stuff and I'm done with that. No, I've had competitors come out of the woodwork in the last couple months, and just another reason I've been really laying low on social because I'm like, that's it. I can't, like, this is my bread and butter. This is how I make my living. And for people to constantly steal things, and one's a big flipping university that I'm like, stay in your lane, dude.
Yeah, that's not okay.
I really want to name them. I want to name them so bad right now, but I'm really trying to be professional. But they stole my exact title for my Spanish classes. So I appreciate you asking, and maybe when I release them and debut them, we can do another episode. But right now I am protecting the crap.
She's holding down the fort.
I am.
Do you have a timeline of when we can expect to see some of this new stuff, or you're not sure yet?
I'm hoping to drop it in the next 2 months, if that. I've also learned a hard lesson with that because if I put a timestamp on things
go wrong.
Well, I put more pressure on myself. And so case in point, this ESL project of mine has been a dream of mine for years, and I'm working on it. But what a lot of people don't know, and I'll just come out and say it, I had surgery in the spring. It was a pretty major surgery. Didn't tell anybody about it. I kept it pretty low. I promised my doctor I would talk about it at some point because it's something that needs to be out there. But in the meantime, it was a big setback for me. Mm-hmm. So when I kept getting these emails from people that are like, hey, I thought you were working on this, or do you have this done yet? And it's like, you have no idea what's going on in my personal life. So when I do, and I know I've mentioned it in some of my social posts, like I've had a few setbacks. That was a big one. And I was my first surgery ever. And I didn't know what to expect with recovery, which was, it was long. And I had a lot of help from friends, thank God. But it just put me going into this being Katie. I'm like, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z while I'm recovering. Oh, no. So it did set me back in more ways than one. So that's why I'm also hesitant. I'm sorry. I wish I could. I've learned that to lessen the pressure and to lessen the anxiety on that, I just need to work. One of my favorite things to tell people, especially when they're like, oh, I at this age, I should have done this or that. You're on nobody's timeline but your own. I learned that from my therapist. I'm going to say it again. You are on no one's timeline but your own. And so this will hopefully, I'm excited for it. I'm really excited because I'm excited for you too. The big thing, the reason I do what I do, Val, and I know you know this, is it's to help other people in agriculture to bridge that culture, to bridge the culture and the language gap. And as we have both established, I don't do anything that's not fun. So,
well, I feel privileged that you're here on my podcast because you wouldn't do it.
Thank you for asking me again. So you know what? And this is such a more I enjoyed the last one with you, but as we know, that was kind of a heavy one talking about the divorce and whatnot. So this one was this has just been a lot of fun and more lighthearted. So thank you.
This is what I need. I needed this too. So thank you, because this is exactly, I was I just want something where we can just chit chat and have fun and talk about whatever, who'd have thought we'd fill, an hour just talking about whatever. I mean, right? I kind of figured that if anyone could, you and I could. So that was good. But
for sure.
Yeah. So, all right. I want to ask you, I think that you'll like this one because it's going to bring you back to your farming days. What job on the farm builds the most character within you? And what character does it build?
Loading straw bales. That and patching potholes or picking rocks. I have many of them, but the straw comes to the most to the forefront, Val. So I also have that tattooed on my, wheat is my favorite crop. One, it means prosperity. It goes back to the whole Dust Bowl thing. So I tell you that because I feel like this needs an explanation. Whenever we do straw, and maybe this is for a lot of farms, it is always the hottest flipping day of the summer, right? Or week of the summer. And my family, it depends on the year if they're doing small bales or big bales or whatever. But we did a lot of small bales when I was growing up because we used those to bed calves a lot. Mm-hmm. So we do have the bale wagons where it's not the self-propelled ones, but they still pick up the bales and they flip them. This is one of my brother's favorite jobs. But there were some bales that we could not put in the bale wagon. So we had to go out there and, throw them ourselves. And I just, by the time you're done and you're scraped up, you're hot. Itchy. Yes. But it never failed. Every summer we'd be racing against a storm. And one of my fondest memories of it is you work your butt off, literally. You're sweating it off. You're just trying to get this crop in. And one of the memory sticking out is we just got into the barn and just had backed that straw wagon in, and it just poured. And I remember standing out in the rain because we needed the rain so bad, and I'm drenched. And at this point I'm let's just wiping all the sweat off anyway. But the satisfaction of knowing that you just got that last load of straw in under cover, it's not wet. I don't know. It's just, and I think that builds a lot of character.
There you go. And I would love for you to leave. And sometimes I just let people choose their whatever motivational quote they want to use. So I want you to leave a piece of advice for someone who's going through a tough time. It could be a divorce. It could be just something else. What is one piece of advice that you wish that someone would remind you of when you're having a hard time? Just getting through something.
I know I've said this on your last podcast, but it still rings true to me. It is whatever you are not changing, you are choosing. So, for those last 3 years of my marriage, I was choosing to be there. I was choosing to be miserable. Because I wasn't making a change. And it's still to that day with my business. I mean, this isn't easy what I do. Mm-hmm. And it's okay, Katie, well, if you're not happy, then change something. You need to, and that's one of the reasons why I'm working so hard on what I'm going to release. So that's the biggest thing. And that might sound maybe a little harsh for somebody going through something, but it's so true, because when you're unhappy, right, when you're depressed, there are still things that you can do. You might not think you can, but unfortunately, they are the hard decisions. And the other one I mentioned earlier was you're on nobody's timeline but your own. People can tell you to leave. People can tell you to do this. People can tell you to do that. But until you are ready to make the decision, until you are ready to actually do the action, whatever that is, that's on you. Nobody else but you. I have a friend that I love her to pieces. She is a single mom putting herself through college. It is hard. And I keep reminding her, one, this is a season, but two, because she keeps saying, oh, I should have done this when I was in my 20s. I'm like, no, like you've gone through everything in your life to bring you to where you are in your 30s. This is, trust me, you're going to look back at this in just a year's time even and be like, one, how the heck did I do that? But two, holy crap, I did that, you know? So why are all my answers are long-winded. I'm sorry.
You're fine. Good. So I think that we exhausted our hour, and
yes,
I am so thankful for you coming on, Katie, because I always have such a fun time chatting with you.
thank you.
I would love for you to plug your website one more time, or where people can find you. I know
Sure.
you haven't been posting on social much, but you can plug away.
Yep, you can find me on, I call it book face because I hate Facebook, but it's agvocate. Instagram is _agvocate, and then the website is just agvocate.com. I'm gonna spell it because a lot of people misspell it. So it's like advocate, right? So AGVO, agvocate with a K, K-A-T. So,
and I will link that in the show notes for you guys as well, especially if you're interested in taking one of her fantastic courses or learning more about it. Or if you just want to connect with her because she's a pretty awesome person, that would be awesome as well. Katie, thank you so much for joining us today. If you guys loved this episode, please share with a friend, share on your social medias. That is the best way for small podcasts like this one to gain traction and grow their followers. So please stay tuned, and we will talk to you next week. Thank you, everybody.